Hello and welcome back to the British basketball scene, your home for news and interviews inside of the BBL. Today we are joined by a BBL and British basketball legend, someone that has travelled up and down the country doing his thing on the courts for many years. An icon with many stories to tell. We welcome the one and only David Watts. So I am joined by the iconic British basketball legend, David Watts, also known as Tintin. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So where did you get the nickname of Tintin from?
My first ever basketball camp here in Nottingham. As you can imagine, in a room full of hundreds of kids, if you shout Dave, at least 12 are about to turn around, right? So the coach that would turn out to be my coach for the next 5 years was like, we can't have this. So he gave us all nicknames. And I can't remember anybody else's, but I just remember thinking, who the hell is Tintin? And so that coach just wouldn't refer to me by name for the next 5 years. And I've had, friends, really good friends that don't actually know my real name, and teammates. So they're going through the team sheet and they're like, who's David Watts? Like, me.
Just see the 6'9" guy walking the gym, like, yeah, that's me. Huh?
That's probably me, I reckon. Yeah. But it is quite funny because even my nephew, he's only 2, and I'm Uncle Tin. I'm not Uncle Dave or David. Uncle Tin. He doesn't even believe me that my real name's David. He won't buy it.
So it would be 18, and he's like, "Oh, happy!" You walk in the room, "Happy birthday!" You're like, "Oh, thanks, Uncle Tin." Right, you're 18 now.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's quite nice. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, definitely, especially when they're at that young age. So you were under this lockdown regime. You seem to have amassed quite an impressive beard game, as we see on the screen right now. How do you keep your beard so well groomed?
Well, do you know what? It was actually out of control about a week ago. It was down to about here, I think, and it was just out. So I managed to trim it and sort it, but a lot of beard oil, a lot of conditioner, a lot of balm. Yeah. And since I've got all that product in it, I can't stop playing with it. I can't stop touching it. So I've really to stop.
It's so soft. I can't grow one, so I'm screwed.
Not with that attitude, you can't.
I've just got to
persist. Yeah.
Like, grow. So how much do you miss watching basketball at the moment?
Lots. A lot. I mean, The Last Dance saved a lot of my sanity when it was on. And I've watched it. I must have watched it like 4 times now. Especially when you're in lockdown, the weather's not very good, and you're kind of like struggling for things to do, and just keep your mind occupied, or even just having something on in the background. So yeah, I'm really struggling with it, to be honest, because I always watch condensed highlights. I can't remember the last time I watched a full game. I've never really had the time. But I've just found myself watching old NBA clips from like 2000, 2001, which is when I first really started following the NBA. And it's just been a really nice reintroduction to it. So you're watching all those old players like Jamal Mashburn and Eddie Jones and, guys like that you've not forgotten about, but they're in the back of your mind. And it's kind of like nice and refreshing to see those guys still out there competing against Vince Carter, who's only just retired.
Yeah.
But it's really nice, actually. So even despite there not being, up-to-date games or games going on currently, it's quite nice to see the old throwbacks, even the old throwback BBL games with like Todd Cawthorn, John Amici, and Travis Conlon, Terrell Myers, those guys. That's pretty cool.
I was gonna say, watching all these icons play definitely does. It brings back the memories for a lot of fans that will be watching these flashback games as well. And
Mm.
with the NBA coming back as well, it is sort of we can start getting kind of excited again with them playing in Disneyland. Hopefully, we get to see Mickey Mouse do a bit of a slam dunk.
With a weird cross studio Space Jam kind of thing.
Oh, I mean, they're bringing out the second, so why not start production now?
Mm.
So,
But I think that bubble thing is going to be a bit weird. It's going to be
yes,
like the NCAA tournament, isn't it? Kind of thing. But
yeah,
I'm excited to see how it's going to run. But yeah, I've been following it on social media, and some of the food that they've been given is just ridiculous. It's like airplane food.
really?
Yeah, so you're trying to feed these these world class athletes, and they've got like really dry pasta, a really tiny little serving of watermelon, and it just looks ridiculous.
So
Like, how are
they're
you supposed
kind
to run and like be at the top of your game if you're eating, food you could buy in a petrol station?
they're
Ridiculous.
kind they're kind of being treated like how I would eat. I'm a uni student and I'm used to eating dry pasta with cheese.
Yeah, well, welcome back to it, lads. Is all I can say.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm going to take it back to the beginning of your basketballing journey. What was it like growing up just outside of Sherwood Forest?
Um, really quiet,
Mm.
really quiet, because it was a little mining town. Still is a little mining town, I guess, but there's no mines anymore. But yeah, within 5 minutes, you could cycle your bike into the middle of Sherwood Forest and just be in the middle of silence, and it was really nice. And it was great for a little while when I wasn't playing any basketball whatsoever. But then, obviously, as you can imagine, there's no basketball in Sherwood Forest. Maybe a few hoops every now and then, but that's about it. So I made the decision to move to Nottingham. So I left home when I was about 16 or 17, or 17, and joined an academy here with Kurt Xavier at South Notts College. And yeah, I spent 4 years, I think, playing under Curtis. And yeah, I didn't look back really. As soon as I left Sherwood Forest, I go back and visit, but I kind of became a city kid then, and really enjoyed being around, and just the fact that there was so much going on all the time. And Nottingham's not a particularly big city either, but it's just the fact that like Monday night there was a run at the YMCA, Wednesday night there was boys club, Thursday night we had another run at Rushcliffe, I think, and then Saturday and Sunday you just had runs all over the place, so you could just play basketball every day of the week, and we did, and that was great. I mean, I remember playing video games or watching old NCAA tapes from the mid-90s with my housemates because I'd never seen college basketball before. I was like, these guys are my age. That's ridiculous. And to be watching these tapes until like 2, 3 a.m. and then we'd just go and play in the park around the corner because it was under a lamppost, under a street light. And we'd be playing all night and then we'd go to bed and then do the same again.
Yeah, I mean, I've been guilty to do exactly the same. Just go out and find any hoop possible. Maybe even just traveling like 30, 40-minute walks or something like that to find the nearest hoop. I mean, I used to go around to a park near a Waitrose, and I had to travel about an hour to get to that. So
Yeah,
you do anything you can when you're that age to try and get where you can with basketball, and that's kind of how you get hooked on it, watching those NCAA tapes, as you say, and just keep
exactly.
getting engrossed in the game. And I think that's what more kids need to do nowadays, I think.
I think yeah, I totally agree. I mean, my brother and I, Daniel was 4 years younger than me, and we used to cycle 10 miles to the next village to go play with our friends because there's a really nice outdoor court there with like nets on and all sorts, and obviously nets on an outdoor court, especially 20 years ago, that's unheard of. So we used to cycle out there and then play all day and then cycle home. So you're doing about a 20-mile round trip with everything you own pretty much in a backpack and whatnot. But I've found kids these days won't travel. They'll show up, they'll go to the gym and they'll Snapchat a few things and then they'll get off home. That's not all. That's some that I've noticed. I'm just like, well, you've got the opportunity now. You're in a really nice basketball arena, or you've got a gym that you could be using, and you're just not bothered. It's
Pretty
fine.
much.
It's not for everyone, I guess, but if I could do it all over again, I'd definitely take advantage of having, the Wildcats Arena here on my doorstep.
Definitely, like kids nowadays do definitely need to try and make the most of the sport that is basketball, because they will go to a leisure center. There'll be hoops around, and they'll play they'll play football. Sorry, instead.
Mm.
That's what goalposts are out in the park for. Like,
Yeah,
so
I 100% agree. It's like I've been doing a grand tour of basketball courts around Nottingham during lockdown, so I've been riding my bike around and taking my ball and just get some shots up. And there's some great parks actually, but I've found that people are absolutely fascinated with ripping nets off hoops, and it drives me
yeah,
nuts. Like, why would you bother? Why'd you do that?
it's because people
Finally,
are.
I found a really nice court. It's got, the sun's not in the way. It's quiet. No one's ever there. No one's ever in the way playing tennis or football or whatever. And somebody found the court and just jumped up and just pulled the net off. Why? Drives me nuts.
Absolutely ludicrous. I mean, I guess people are just like, oh, look, I can touch this net, and then they rip it down. It's just at that point, it's vandalism.
It's just annoying.
Yeah, it really
If
is.
you can't dunk it, don't bother. Just leave
Yeah,
it.
I know I can't, so I don't try. I'm 5'10", and I can't leave the ground.
Just jump downwards, not up.
Yeah, pretty much. Every time someone's coming my way, no. So, obviously you're 6'9". Were you always one of the taller kids growing up? When you were playing basketball.
Well, I didn't really start playing until I was like 15.
Yeah.
And I was always pretty tall, but I was never like, stood out from the crowd. And it wasn't until I actually started playing basketball seriously that I went from about, I think I started year 11 when I was like 5'11", maybe 6 foot, and ended year 11 when I was like 6'5". So a pretty, big growth spurt. Went from a size 10 to a size 14 shoe at the same amount of time. So it was quite painful and quite frustrating because you'd have a nice pair of shoes and they'd be gone in 2 weeks because you've thrown out them, which is really annoying. But yeah, I was always kind of long and tall and gangly and stuff. But then it wasn't until I think I was 19, 20 when I stopped, because it was ridiculous. I just kept on going. But it was a really slow rate of growth, and then yeah, it was really bizarre. So my last season at South Notts College got measured, and I was 6'9". I was like, oh wow. I don't want to grow anymore. I want to leave it at that. I thought I was quite happy at 6'7". What are you gonna do?
Definitely. I mean, I wish I could go to that length. I can barely hit 6 foot. So, I mean, you mentioned that you started, playing basketball when you were about 15, and you would play with your friends and watch the old tapes. Were there certain players that you would grow up idolizing?
It's quite funny because my nan, when she found out I really like basketball, she would go to car boot sales and she'd pick up any VHS with basketball on. So the first two that she ever bought me was NBA Jam Session.
Oh.
So you had like Eric B and Rakim on the soundtrack, which was great, and then you had Larry Bird, a basketball legend, which was more of his life story, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I was like, this guy's amazing. This guy is incredible. Like, he looks like he should be managing a bank, but he's just killing everybody. And yeah, so yeah, Larry Bird straight off, and then obviously Michael Jordan, Chris Mullin, Glenn Rice, Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway, all these guys in like the mid to late 90s. Just, I couldn't believe they were my size and doing those things, and especially being that athletic, with the exception of Larry Bird. But yeah, I couldn't get over it. I couldn't get over how Penny would handle the ball, get in the lane, and then dish to somebody, like not even looking. And obviously nowadays a no-look pass, that's pretty standard. And in fact, having played basketball for a long time, that is pretty standard. But when you're first learning, you're like, wow, didn't even look. How did you even know he's there? And you just can't fathom it, because at this point, I'd never actually played 5-on-5. I'm just shooting around and playing ones with my brother, and that was about it. So you're just looking at these tapes, just in awe, like how have they done that? Like what is going on? But yeah, I think the one clip that stands out in my mind that I tried to recreate all the time and never have done to this day was Michael Jordan against the Nets when they're wearing that really horrible light blue uniform, and he goes from the elbow, goes up, clutch, 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 and finish on the other side. And if you look on the Nets bench, you can just see them all like wobbling all over the shot, because the man just took off from 15 feet away, went through every single one of your defenders and still scored. And I remember rewinding it and watching it so many times, I just murdered the tape. It was dead. Like, VHS is not good for that kind of stuff. But I remember pausing it in slow motion, like, did he get hit in the air to bump him back up again? No.
The
man literally just flew 15 feet through your entire defense and still scored.
He's a mastermind. He's an
What he's
absolute
supposed to do.
magician.
Mm.
Definitely, and I mean, more and more players are being compared to the likes of Jordan. With like, I think there's like loads of comparisons and like science facts of like trying to work out whose game currently in the NBA matches Jordan the most. And it's kind of like, how do you even do that? Like, who's closest to Jordan? I mean, that's kind of like the benchmark of basketball, Michael Jordan.
Mm.
Were you like brought into the British basketball scene at that near that age as well?
I didn't really know much about British basketball, to be fair. I think the first British basketball game I saw was, again, recorded for me by my nan, who had Sky Sports. And it was Manchester Giants were playing, I can't remember who, but Julius Joseph was playing for the Giants. And he's the first person I saw do a slam dunk on TV, Julius Joseph. And years later, he was my England teammate, and I told him, I was like, "You're the first person I ever saw dunk it."
Wow.
And he was like, "Really?" It must have been early. That must have been first part of the season, because I don't dunk in the second half of the season. And I laughed at that. That's pretty funny. But yeah, I didn't really know much about it, to be honest. I didn't realize you could play professionally over here. I didn't realize there was a pathway. I didn't know who the players were, etc. So it was kind of I met a friend of mine called Matt Stocks. I used to play basketball after school, and then I used to go to the rec session after that at the Low Centre. And he gave me a big box full of like basketball magazines, like NBA XXL, all the old tape from Mark Webster and Scoop Jackson, the XXLs and 24/7s and things like that. And a lot of, I think there's a paper as well called Slam Dunk, and a lot of that would cover like NBA and British basketball too. So I kind of like, did my homework. I was like just researching all these basketball players and stuff, which was actually really cool. And then because we're in Nottingham, it's in the middle of the Midlands, and you've got Leicester Riders not too far away, Derby Storm not too far away. I tried to go and watch a few games, so I went to a few Derby Storm games, which was quite cool. And then a few Leicester Riders players like Billy Singleton, Steve Mack, Guy Renton, Keith Dolby, Tristan Lawson would come and scrimmage with us. And it wasn't until I scrimmaged against those guys that I realised, wow, everyone's a lot bigger in the BBL. I mean, you can play against tall guys all you want, but these guys are much bigger. And it was pretty crazy.
The tallest I ever played against was a 6'3" guy, and he was my best friend. So that kind of, I've never really played against anyone that tall. So I'm far from professional as well. So never mind. But I mean, you also did in fact go overseas to play basketball. How was it going over and playing in Belgium?
I didn't like it.
Did you not?
No, not at all. It wasn't a good situation. I think what happens, because it's your first contract, teams will try and take advantage. So first off, my then coach thought it'd be a good idea for me to go over and sign, but I was getting paid like nothing. It was minimum wage basically. I mean, I didn't have to pay any living costs, which was great, but I'm taking away pretty much nothing, and all for this opportunity to play abroad. So I'm playing. Naturally I'm a 2-3, 4 in my later part of the career, but they're playing me at the 5, 4 and 5. So I'm guarding guys that are like 6'10" and stacked, and I'm 6'9" and not stacked. And I remember getting benched because I shot a 3 once. I read the defense. I set a back pick. My guy cut back door. Both defenders followed him. I opened to the ball, caught it, shoot it. Fine, simple. I've made a career doing that, and this guy absolutely freaked out, benched me, and was yelling in my face in French for the next like 5 minutes. I was just like, well, why? I'm here just to set screens and rebound. I understand if that's what you want me for, but we never had that conversation. So he's playing me out of position, so I was miserable. I was sharing a bedroom. I had to, like a hotel room when you've got twin beds. So it's like that with a teammate, which is, less than ideal. And it was in the middle of nowhere, in this little tiny village called Linson. I think there's about a dozen houses, so there's nothing to do. You go lift weights in the morning, we go shoot, and then that'd be it. We couldn't shoot too much because the floor where we played was concrete. What? So yeah, we used to get like 2 or 3 sessions in a day because we're super keen. It's our first contract. We want to be really good. And after about 2 months, I just realised like my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, my back hurts, my shoulders hurt, and it's just because you spend all this time like shooting jump shots to get yelled at for shooting jump shots on a concrete floor. I was like, you know what, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I'm gonna go. So I told the team I'm not gonna honor the rest of my contract. I'm gonna go. We went through 3 coaches in the same time. And I was really unhappy. And looking back, I definitely shouldn't have gone, because the scenario when I went out there to try out was much better, as advertised. So they said, you'll have your own apartment, you'll have X amount of money. We'll practice in this facility, which was beautiful. And I arrived, and they're like, oh yeah, that's all falling apart now. So I don't even think it was there to begin with. But I'm sure I'm not the only player that's showed up to a team and it's not been what they expected. So yeah, I decided to come home. I was going to take a little time away from basketball, but my local team, Mansfield Express, got in touch. So I signed with them, Division 2, and we won everything and had a great year. So I went from living in the middle of nowhere, playing in front of Belgian people, to living 20 minutes from where I grew up and winning everything and playing in front of my family every Saturday night, which was great.
Well, what can you want?
And at that point in time, I really needed that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm guessing it's a real morale boost for sure. And as you say, you did make a career off making threes. I mean, how did you get your 3-point shot to be so efficient as a big man? I mean, a lot of big guys do actually feel like it is harder to shoot the 3, but then guys come along like Dirk Nowitzki and Kevin Durant in recent times, they have learnt to be the 7-footer to shoot the ball. How did you find it so effortless?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, you should have seen my shot when I first started playing. It was just all kinds of broken. But luckily, again, my coach, Curtis Xavier, he's taught some great shooters in Matt Law, Jason Swain, and he's given those guys the green light. Like, if in doubt, shoot it. And with that confidence, you kind of like, well, okay, I must be good at something. But it was the fact that I had to reinvent and reintroduce myself to this new, this new movement, this natural body movement. Because before I was shooting across like Lonzo Ball, because I wasn't strong enough. So now I had to, go back to here, and I must have shot 1,500 jump shots a day. Just weigh it, turn it, shoot it for 150 times, and then we're in the gym 3 times a day. So, I just thought, if I can shoot, because I'm 6'9" and I can jump reasonably high, who's going to block my jump shot? No one. And then I'm quick enough to go by them as well. So, it was a bit of a no-brainer for me. And the fact that I was really persistent with it, because I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm all right. I want to be really good. What's the point? I'm all or nothing at all. Like, I can't be part-time. I can't play at it. I've got to be all in. So, yeah, Curtis really helped me out and really straightened me out with that. But he was so adamant that I had to be a catch and shoot player. So I was coming off screens, like off chairs, sprinting and just catch straight up. And yeah, without those drills and practicing against, my practice partner was 6'11". So we were practicing against each other all summer. Then finally we get to scrimmage, this part of our training, and we're guarding each other. We must have gone off for like 8 baskets each. Like, we just couldn't stop each other. So I'm just like coming down, catch and shoot. And because it's so quick and so high, like, it's got no chance. But then he's got me in the post shooting his Kevin Garnett fadeaway, and I can't get anywhere near it. And yeah, you kind of realize, like, wow, this work is actually paying off. That's pretty cool.
Got to put in the hard work for it to pay off, and I mean, it certainly has. The countless highlights I've gone through of yours, and it's basically a 3-point contest with a few drive-bys and a lot of defensive work as well. That work really paid off when you signed professionally inside the BBL for the first time for the Worcester Wolves.
Yeah.
What did it feel like to get the offer from Worcester?
Well, I've known PJ for quite a while before that time, and I was playing for Reading. And he'd always joked about me joining him at Guildford. And I was very 50-50. I mean, I had a job in a school as well at the time, which I absolutely adored. But Reading had been so good to me, I felt like that wasn't really the right timing. but yeah, it all came from having a good tournament in Belfast with the England team, and PJ was the England coach. So I played really well, shot the ball really well, and he was like, "What do you think about playing in Worcester next year?" I was like, "Okay." That was pretty much the conversation. He's like, "We can offer you this, a house, and you just get to play basketball." So I was like, "Yeah, I'm in, fine." And then I found out Cal Jones was signing as well, and we crossed paths, but we weren't friends at that point. And it was at an England training camp, and we played 3-on-3. So Cal's throwing me all these alley oops, and I'm just like dunking all these lobs, and he's shooting all these threes, and now it's kind of like the other way around. So yeah, our careers have kind of gone like this, and now all of a sudden we're on the same team, and that was cool because being on the same team as somebody because I wasn't used to like that playing basketball all the time because I'd been working in schools and etc. So you kind of have to look after yourself. But now I'm just playing basketball all the time. So I took it really seriously. So I must have shot 1,000 jump shots a day, and yeah, it was really good. And with teammates like Cal, who should we go shoot? I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. And the facilities were really good. They didn't have the arena at the time. The arena was just getting built while I was there. But yeah, I had a really good first season. Not so good second season. But I shot the ball really well again. I mean, it's a common theme, I guess.
Definitely. I mean, if you got a reliant 3-point shot, definitely go to it. It's in your arsenal. It's the lethal weapon. Bring it out. And as you say, Callum Jones, the Manchester or former, in fact, Manchester Giants captain, unfortunately being let off with two of the other players as well. Also, close friend of yours as well. I mean, did you receive the news before it was announced, or did no one receive
I just saw it announced on social media. So I can't remember if it was like Instagram or Facebook. So I messaged Keller like, "What's going on?" And so he called me, and he was obviously like really disappointed and really upset. The man's given 8 years of his life to this club, his hometown club. Been receiving offers from elsewhere, and he's just completely shunned them because that's not where he wants to be. He wants to retire. He wants to be a lifer, Same as I mean, James has had a good career around the BBL. He's won a lot as well, and he wanted to be in Manchester. Same with Ingus. Ingus could have been anywhere, chose to stay in Manchester, and I feel really bad for him because that team means a lot. You can't really explain to someone how it feels to represent your hometown, especially doing something you love, something that you're so passionate about. Because it sounds really cliche, sorry, but you're inspiring the next generation. You're, like it or not, you're a role model, and it's what you do with that. And he was a great role model to a lot of kids, and I just feel really bad for him and the city of Manchester now because of that decision. And I don't know what direction the Giants are going in now, but how could you not want a veteran? At least one of those three. The go-between between the younger players, the imports, and the coach. Somebody that's been in that situation, that scenario, for a long time. Whether it be James, Ingus, or Callum, it's a no-brainer for me. Especially, playing for free, you're getting a freebie. A veteran, a BBL veteran for free, no-brainer. But I don't understand. I don't understand the decision there at all. I'm quite disappointed, to be honest. Sorry.
It was a bizarre decision. I saw it happen. Oh well, I didn't see it happen. I saw the post on the internet. I was like, really? As you say, every team needs that veteran for those young players to look up to. And I was talking to Mike Tuck the other day, and I was talking to him about how important it is for those young players to look up to a player like him. And I mean, like players would do to you when you were playing, and obviously Cal would and all these the Giants players would be looked up by to the next generation of talent. So I think it was a bizarre decision, and we can only see what they have moving forward. Maybe they're following what the Worcester Wolves have done this year, which I mean, they brought in a lot of guys, and their team is sort of I think they're the youngest average team in the
Yeah,
league this year, which I mean they did well, but still, that's not British basketball. It's the veterans of the game with as many British talents being showcased at that time.
yeah. And for me, it's really frustrating because um, for years it's felt like British basketball players are second class players to imports. So instead of looking after the homegrown talent that has sacrificed, that does do the extra stuff for the club because we care, because it's the city we grew up in, or it's the city that we care about, or we do it because we've got a good moral compass. We realise that it's not just out here putting on social media because we're playing overseas. We do it because we're lucky to do it. We want to do it. We love doing it. And being a role model is not something you take lightly. I mean, I do remember a few times when I looked up to a few players when I was younger, and I met them, and I was like, oh, "You're a bit of an idiot." Like, I really regret, not idolizing, but looking up to you so much. And it's a big deal. But I just think basketball players, English basketball players, are treated like, they're the second option. So that they'll always look for somebody that's an American or with a British passport. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine, because obviously Americans are very good players. But for me, I'd look for the English core first, because that's a big difference. It's the British Basketball League, I'm not saying, I'm not being xenophobic or anything like that. I'm just saying that surely you should look after your homegrown talent first. They've come through the ranks. They've put the work in, and the fans can relate because they're there season in, season out. Unlike an import that will come in, play great for 6 months, be a fan favorite, and disappear, never to be seen again, or come back years later because you can't get a contract, so we'll take whatever he can here, and then disappear again. I mean, you look at teams like Leicester, Glasgow, Newcastle. They managed to keep a hold of their core, their imports, I should say, more often than not, which is great, and they're English guys too. But some teams just overhaul completely, and you don't recognise the team, year to year. And how are you supposed to build a connection with that team, with the fans? Because it's the same badge, but it's a different team every season. You might have the same couple of guys on the end of the bench that don't really play, just to help out in practice. But yeah, it's just I think the English players should be valued a bit more than what they are. But I don't think it will change anytime soon, especially with this advent of 5 Americans on the team.
Yeah, that new rule change has kind of
we've gone back 30 years. We've gone
yeah,
back 30 years.
absolutely. And with that rule change, it's kind of destroyed the incentive for, as we mentioned earlier, for those kids to go around and shoot hoops and make jump shots, because they don't feel like they have the same opportunity. Whereas if we had maybe 3, but then say you've got to have 3 British players or even 4 British players on the court at one time, so you can vary it up, sort of thing, and make that connection with the fans. And it would also give the incentive for schools and more colleges inside of the UK to actually teach basketball. I know mine was, when I was growing up, mine was one of the few in the region that would actually teach basketball. I would come to PE. I would set up the session with my friends, and we'd play basketball for an hour of PE. And I don't remember any other schools doing that.
No, but at the same time, these community sessions as well. So more often than not, you're looking at a basketball club coming in to deliver those sessions, which is great, because you don't see Man United or Man City going in to do these things. They send somebody to do them, like community sports organizer or something. Whereas you've actually got like the local professional coming in. Obviously, him doing the community coaching is part of his contract, but still. But English guys don't. They might moan about it every now and then because they're tired or whatever, but they care. They're role models. Whereas I've been on teams where they've sent me with an import and they just don't care. They literally sat on their phone while I'm coaching. I'm like, well, what are you doing here? You're a role model. Either you come here and you do the job well, or you don't bother at all. You disappear. But then, coaches don't care. As long as they're doing what they need to do on court and doing a course at uni so they can play bucks as well, they're not really bothered. Which is a massive shame, because that's a spot you could give to an English kid who needs it. But it's culture. The whole culture needs to change, top to bottom. I mean, you like having 3 English players on court at the same time, especially during lockdown, or this COVID pandemic situation. Why couldn't you just have an all English league? Just for 3 months. Play 12 games and leave it at that. Condensed league. It's not a big issue.
No. I think that would bring some excitement back to the British basketball leagues. Like, oh, starting up again.
Yeah.
This is a decision that people wouldn't be expecting. This is going to be fun. It brings some excitement back to when football restarted. They were like, oh, football's back, yay! Maybe some people would be like, oh, after, because there's only 5 games left in the Premier League season. Bring the British Basketball League back for a bit, and we've got some more sport to watch. So what's not to like? Maybe we can get a bigger audience and help basketball be established inside of the UK more, because that definitely needs to happen.
Yeah, agreed. But excuse me. But before any of this happens, British basketball needs to be sustainable and a career choice. Not, I'm okay for 6 months, but then I have to get a job in the summer. That's not good. That's not good. Because how it's all good if you're getting a place to live during your contract period, but when that's over, I've heard of players being evicted like on the day, like, okay, you're gone, you need to go, and that's it, paycheck, yeah, out the door, see you later. And that's ruthless. And I get it's business, but still, like, these are human beings, and they live here in this country, and it's not taken care of again. The amount of times where I've heard English guys having to bug the management to try and get a hold of them just to sit down and go through contract negotiations, whereas they'll be chasing foreigners, chasing imports, chasing whatever, all over the shop. Yeah, we really want you, blah, blah, blah. But the English players, it's kind of the other way around sometimes, where you have to pursue them. Like, what's the story for next year? It's not really a level playing field. And again, it's a culture thing. These kids that are coming up from all these academies, the junior basketball in the UK at the moment is really good. So you're looking at all these academies like at Charnwood and Myers Co and Barking Abbey, and those kids coming out of there are tough and can really play. Oh, and Reading as well, sorry. Those kids can really play. And they're going to the States and then, ending up overseas or coming back and playing for a BBL team for a couple of seasons and realising, like, no, actually, this is rubbish. And what I want to see is our juniors, our young players that put so much work in, love it, go to where they need to go, to an academy like Gran Canaria, or go to college in the States, get your dissertation done, get your degree, and then come home and play professional basketball in arenas, in front of friends and family, and get paid properly. But until it's, covered on TV, newspaper, mainstream TV, mainstream media, it's not going to happen.
No, and I mean, hopefully we can see some culture change soon inside of British basketball, not just the BBL, but I mean, there are a bit more leeways within the NBL and the EBL as well. So we can definitely see some, maybe more in the professional leagues. That would be a nice change, to be honest.
It just as a quick comparison, you look at the top several NBL teams, they can beat BBL teams, and it was proven at Solent this year when they beat Bristol. In fact, they made it to a final against Newcastle, and they only just lost that.
Yeah.
So there's not that big a difference, because if you put Solent in the BBL, they would be top 5, top 6, no problem. And it just goes to show that with organisation, good planning, good funding, what you could accomplish, and good English players.
Yeah.
Good English players that are taken care of, that feel they are wanted and they play a role. And it makes a lot of difference. And they work full time.
Wow.
Beating full time athletes.
That is insane. I mean, the lifestyle of a British basketball professional right now it doesn't really sound. I mean, especially if you've got to maintain yourself with a full-time job or like a summer job as well. It's kind of, it's sort of, again, it comes back to the culture of, I mean, they're not treated with the same, they're not treated the same as the imports. So, I mean, the imports do bring a style of flashiness and stuff like that, but then you do have to counteract that with the homegrown talent. I mean, you can't have too many imports on one team, as you say, otherwise you lose that connection with the fans. So obviously you will have casual fans that won't really care that much, but then you do have the diehard fans each game that go and like, oh, who's this guy, who's this new guy, who's this new guy, every season. And it does need to get to a point and kind of stop.
No, I agree. And it's really frustrating, but again, British players sometimes have just wised up to it. Like, I'm not playing BBL because I'm working full time, and I could be playing in Glasgow on a Sunday night, and I have to start work at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning, and I can't do it. It's things like that are just a massive barrier. Some players love it. Some players, they're just happy to be there. But I couldn't think of anything worse. Going to Plymouth on a minibus to be in the office at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. I don't think so.
It's not the life.
Especially if you can't guarantee your playing time. If you're going there to spectate and play 3 minutes, then what's the point? Why would you bother? Why there's no wonder somebody played at Division 2 and Division 1, because they get to play, they make an impact. And it's good. It's fun.
Yeah, they get to do the thing that they love the most, and that's play. So
unfortunately, it's more of a hobby for British basketball players, with a bit of travel expenses thrown in, than an actual career choice.
Yeah, which is a big shame. But hopefully, we do see the British Basketball League and other British basketball players come into the league and sort of just put some more fire into it and more British power into a sport that's not as appreciated over here, and it most definitely should. So only time can tell whether the BBL does make the steps to make it a bit more fun and enjoyable for the UK fans to get attached to.
I mean, it's very difficult because the fans that are there are absolutely incredible. Like you look at the fans in Newcastle, Leicester, Manchester. When I was there, it was amazing. Worcester's got a big following. Every team you go to, bar like one or two, it's pretty busy. But I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. Like, having a 2,000-seat arena full is great, but it's good. It's not amazing. Like, if you pack out the NIA, great, but we can't do that for BBL finals because it'll be like the top two teams. Like, let's say, for example, Sheffield and Newcastle, who've got great fans, and they'll be, all packed in really close, and the arena will look empty. I know I'm not saying that every arena should be packed, because obviously that is a bit of a pipe dream. But why not? Why can't we look that far into the future and be like, well, this is what needs to happen. How do we get there? I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't. Maybe like a little cup or trophy draw, like halfway through the season, where it's just a tournament, just a weekend tournament. Something like that. I don't know. Like Spencer Dinwiddie from the Brooklyn Nets proposed something like that. So I mean, you could do something, but I think there's a whole mindset of, oh, that's good enough. Well, no, good enough isn't good enough. You need to have expectations up here, not here. But then again, it's about sustainability, isn't it? So if you overreach, then that's when clubs fold and drop out. And I mean, look at the London City Royals, which is a really unfortunate situation. Yeah. And I felt bad for all those players there, because all of a sudden you're out of a job. There's no warning, there's no redundancy package. That's it. Your last paycheck was your last paycheck. Sorry.
Yeah. Pretty much. And without warning, which was a big shame for them. And I mean, maybe seeing like a mid-season, something happen mid-season that could revitalize. Maybe an all-star game or an all-star.
I was just thinking all-star game.
That'd be amazing to see all.
Yeah, I saw one of the highlights on I think Facebook the other day or something. And the old all-star games were actually really good, really good. And actually really entertaining. Just kind of highlights how good the BBL players were back in the day. Because you hear stories and you're like, well, yeah, okay, cool. I mean, you must have thrown a bit of, something on that story. But actually, no, these players were really good. Like Ted Berry, Terrell Myers, they were awesome. I mean, even Yorick back in the day, when you watch his Derby Storm highlight tape, that guy was unreal. and was it Rico Olsen on that team, Nate Rankin, and well, they could really play.
Absolutely. Definitely. I mean, if you combine like maybe a really busy day where people are off, like a Saturday, in a big arena like like the NIA, pack that full of fans and just say, yes, this day we have a dunk contest, this day we have a 3-point contest, and this game we have an all-star game.
Yeah,
Combine that with the women's game as well, and just have a full day of basketball fun, and make the tickets reasonably priced. A lot of people would go because they're dunks, 3-point contest, 2
2
games.
All-Star games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm hooked. Like that is what people want to see, is the best of the best, and I think that could definitely revitalize the importance of British basketball.
yeah, I agree. And you can even do if you were doing it NBA style, you could actually have like, on the Friday night, you could have your 3-point shootout, your dunk contest, but then it's hiring a venue and thinking about that cost, isn't it? So you could do it over 2 days, I guess. You could do like a rookie and sophomore game, or you could do North versus South, something like that. Or like, England versus the world or something like that, like they do in the rookie game. But just something just to mix it up and just to kind of like reignite, some interest. But I don't know how you're going to do it, because people are used to the old, it's British basketball again. It's what you're supposed to do. I mean, all these players that I know work so hard to get to a final, to win games, and it just doesn't. It seems like we've just hit a glass ceiling, as far as we can at the moment, and it could be so good. There's no reason is about the same size as like Paris or Barcelona, and they produce so many NBA players. So why haven't we? I mean, you could argue Deng, Meach, Pops, Joel Freeland, but why aren't we producing NBA talent? What's the issue? We've got, if you look at skill coach like Gary Maitland, he's really good at developing players, really good. So if you spend a summer, 2 summers with him, your game is just going to, go through the roof. And it's because we haven't got that pathway. We get to the BBL and we're like, you'd be better off playing abroad because the standard's better over there, which is true, and you get paid more. So why would they stick around? But then they get overseas and they found their niche, and they found somebody that actually wants them to be there and cares about them. So why would you come back and play for a team that just will treat you like a commodity for 6 months and then cheers for that? We'll get somebody else next year.
Definitely. And the more that the British game does get recognised, it will be better for obviously the homegrown talent, and just better for the game in general. Like it will keep evolving and keep going and going. And along with the All-Star game, what would you think to maybe like celebrating British basketball? Have a ceremony one night of the year at the end of the season. Not maybe like an award ceremony for the year, but also a ceremony for like a Hall of Fame, a British Basketball Hall of Fame, to celebrate the guys like yourself, like Callum Jones, Steve Veer, and guys like Rich Wellens as well, guys like those that have paved the way for the game today.
Well, I don't think a Hall of Fame as such would be as welcomed, because if you think about it, you could have a player that's been here for a year break a record, like Willie Clayton, for example. Then all of a sudden he's in the Hall of Fame for 1 year. I mean, that's the way it would go, I feel. Whereas all the players that know each other, there's a level of respect there, and mutual support. Like, you don't want to see people fail. You want to see them do well, even if you don't like them, even if you bump heads once in a while. The fact that you're all British, you've all chose to play professional basketball, and you just want to see each other succeed. So that mutual respect is there. And I think that's kind of like the Hall of Fame, is when people speak about you highly behind your back. That's what means you've made it for me. Is when like, yeah, he's a really good guy and he could actually play quite a bit. Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. But I mean, the ceremony thing would be a nice idea, but I don't think anybody would go to that.
Mm.
Because you can watch it all on Facebook and YouTube now, so why would you pay and go watch, basketball players get a Defensive Player of the Year award? You know, it's not like you bumping into Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or anybody like that. It's just me having a beer at the bar and congratulating a mate, getting a certificate.
I mean, it definitely probably would end up like that. I mean, it would be worth the concept idea and to see if those would get the recognition that they kind of deserve at this point, and maybe might give the incentive to be like, oh, yeah, I've played 8 years at the Manchester Giants, and yeah, I'm being recognised for it, rather than being kind of felt like you're being a bit discarded.
Yeah, which must be horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I left on my terms and chose to go and play in Derby, which I really wish I hadn't. But yeah, so I left. That was my decision, whereas this wasn't their decision, and that I know the Giants don't owe them anything. That's not. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Like, I'm not saying British basketball players are owed anything whatsoever. Like, everything's earned. But I think those guys earned the fact that they should have maybe had a little bit more of a not fanfare is the wrong word, but they should have been celebrated more for their careers. They're just putting the three of them on the same post. Yeah, cheers, boys. Thanks for that. I forget. And I just think, the article was this long. You're talking about the all-time Giants leader in assists and field goals made, I think, and you can't give him more than 4 lines. It's so disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was absolutely raging when I found out. And after I spoke to my friend Cal, I was just like, I spoke to James as well. I've not messaged Ingus yet. I just thought I'd let Ingus get on with it for a little while. I was just like, well, unfortunately, I'm not surprised. It's like I'm shocked but not surprised, really, because it's British basketball, anything can happen. Yeah,
that surprise factor can just make you, without a job, well, without a passion anymore as well.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a hit.
I saw
when people don't care about something as much as you care about it. That's what's really frustrating.
Yeah,
when they're in it for the wrong reason, or that they do it for status or for money, not because they care. That's what drives me mad. Just because you don't love it doesn't mean that I love it less. Just because you don't care, don't force that upon me. And sometimes it's like that in life, isn't it? In work, if someone's passionate about something, they work really hard. If they don't care, they'll do just enough not to get fired. And sometimes you can see that, and it's really disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned your time in Derby. You left the Giants to play in the NBL with the Trailblazers. You played with Dan, your brother. You recall it not being as fondly as it could have been. So what was it like playing in Derby?
I just didn't like it. I was playing with a lot of academy kids, so the social aspect of it wasn't social. Like, you weren't really a team. I was more of a teacher. I mean, that role model situation was great because, you could lead by example, you could nurture them and you could teach them. But the living situation was really poor. I didn't like the city, and I was just really unhappy. I wasn't earning any money. I was at the uni as well, and I was struggling with that. And the only reason I was there was because my brother had sacrificed so much to get me there. And it was his last season. It wasn't, but it was his last season playing. So I thought, what he really wanted me to go. So I thought, it's his last season. What's the worst that could happen? Yeah. But I went there and I was just miserable. I was really the shining light for me was the fact that Sidney Donaldson, Chris Taylor, my brother was there, George Calvey, he's a good lad. Kane King is a good guy as well, but and Mitch was a good guy as well. But I just think, again, the culture wasn't what I was expecting, and I think also because I was so unhappy, I was in a bit of a bad place as well. So I was just really miserable all the time, which made the situation worse. And yeah, I'd say I was a bit of a diva, to be honest. I'd gone from, playing the BBL and traveling around in a minibus, but now in a really small minibus. So we're traveling to like Essex. I'm cramped and I've got a lecture at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. It's not really ideal, but we all do it. This is why we do it. I was just really unhappy. And the house, there were so many things wrong with the house. The neighbours were shouting all night and I couldn't sleep. And then they were playing music at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm just trying to study or nap, or, because I've been up all night because they were playing music all last night as well. And then the fridge broke, then the oven broke, and we couldn't eat. And it was just a nightmare.
Oh, no.
So I remember there was a few times I actually bought a hotel room in Nottingham just so I could just come over to Nottingham and just be for an evening, just in a hotel, just get my head down, just sleep, have a nice shower, and just get the train back.
Yeah.
But basketball wise, we won a lot of games, and I think we lost to, I think it was Reading in the playoffs. I think, can't remember. I think I blocked most of that season out. But it was good. I mean, wherever you go, there's always good people and good fans and whatnot, and they were good people. But I think I was just in the wrong place in my life to be there.
Yeah. I recall you. I read an article that you wrote for the Manchester Evening News, and you did mention that you were in a bad place and kind of almost falling out of love with basketball as a sport. And I mean, moving to Derby, maybe not the best scenario for that passion to be reignited again. But
no, I mean, it did hit me because I remember just like I was just tying my shoes and I was just sat next to some bloke who's just finished playing badminton. I'm like, I'm just trying to get my head into the game, and I'm like, what is going on? And it's British basketball in a nutshell. And then you're playing against teams in London where, the referees are so one-sided because they've got to ref there all season, so they're going to bail them out a little bit. But again, I'm not a referee. I would not do it for all the money in the world. No chance. The second I said I was retiring, Matt Callender, Martin Ford, Steve Wheatcroft, all like, have you thought about refereeing? No, not one time. Not even summer league, not one time.
wow.
But yeah, it's just things like that. I was like, well, what am I doing this for? I'm really unhappy because this is supposed to be my release. This is supposed to be why I've moved here, why I put all the work in, why I have put all the work in, and now I'm just going to go and play in the Leisure Centre in front of, 3 people. It's I was kind of like, well, what's the point? And luckily, my brother was very understanding, and we bumped heads quite a lot that year because, again, he'd sacrificed a lot to get me there, and I really appreciate that, and always will. But I was just unhappy and a little bit ungrateful, I think, as well. I didn't really understand how much he'd given up, and yeah, I think we both left Derby feeling a bit deflated, really. And it wasn't until Lee English from the Hoods called me. It was like, well, have you done messing about now? Do you want to come play for us? So I was like, yeah, okay.
And you go to the Hoods and you win the Division 2 championship in that season. So that kind of might have ignited the fire that you might have previously once had and then lost again. But again, returning to Nottingham and winning silverware.
Yeah, I mean, it was always my retirement plan was to move back to Nottingham and help inner city kids after basketball. And Lee knew this. We spoke at great lengths quite often about his team and about me being there and whatnot. And I didn't really appreciate the offer until I actually had a chance to play. My first season there was a write-off completely. Like, my appendix burst and I had to sit out half of the year, and we went through coaching changes and player changes. But the second year, when Ryan Wesley came into coaches, and we had Tevis Robinson, Delaney Powell, Kieran Wright, Ewan James, Yanis, we were really good. And it was fun and it was nice. And all these guys on my team, I used to coach them when they were like 14 and I was 17. And now they're my peers and my friends, and they've become good people. And just hearing the stories and catching up over the years. So all those trips up and down the country on the bus were fun. You're sharing stories, not just got your headphones in and you listen to some absolute garbage. You're actually, chatting and catching up. And those seasons in Nottingham were really good. They were tough at times when we played Division 1. But we got to Division 1 and we stayed in Division 1 when I was there. And it was always going to be difficult. We knew that. But we wanted it to be difficult. Nobody wants it to be easy because what's the point? If you can win every game, then why bother? You're in the wrong league.
Yeah.
So it was fun, and just the fact that everybody embraced the challenge as well, and we're on the same page, and everybody wanted to get better and put the extra work in and supported each other. It was really good. It was a really, like my last year in Nottingham, I really enjoyed it. It was like my farewell tour. Yeah. But it was really nice and really, really fun. It was a good way to end my career. I'm really grateful that I had the chance to do it, my way, instead of being dismissed.
It's kind of like Dwayne Wade's final season as well.
Oh, exactly the same. Exactly the same, yeah. But without the jersey swap. We'll take a picture, but I need that back because the team hasn't got anything to give out. So, yeah.
They don't have money to print for all of your jerseys that you're giving away. Unless you just keep swapping the jerseys that you get. And
there is that. But when I my last game at Reading, it was really nice because I can't remember if it was Kieran or Delaney was saying, I think they're going to do something for you today. I was like, no, they won't do that. Like that, they shouldn't. It's not a big deal. But Gary Johnson, before the owner of Reading Rockets, the director, said some really nice words before the game. I wish he'd waited till after. But before the game, and then gave me a bottle of champagne, and it was really nice, really classy. The whole organisation there is absolutely awesome. And honestly, I didn't expect anything like that whatsoever. But that was really nice. And then my final game in Nottingham, same. I got given so much stuff, like Hood's lunch boxes. I got a nice cake and a couple of bottles of beer, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's just a gesture, and it's the fact that all the fans were there, and my family and friends and teammates that I've had over the years were all there in the building. And a friend of mine, John Amici, came up to watch, and he gave a little speech. I managed to hold it together, but it was really nice, but really difficult realizing that that's the final time I'm playing for a crowd this big.
Yeah, I mean,
in front of my friends and family,
Yeah, definitely. Was it kind of emotional throughout the seasons, be like, oh, this is the last time I'm playing in this certain arena, or this is the last time that I'm playing in front of this crowd that might have given me a bit more stick, than some other away fans.
Well, do you know what? When you score points or when you get blocks or something, you're always bound to get some heat from the fans. But I kind of like that. You kind of thrive on it. You become like a Reggie Miller kind of guy, where I'll just keep saying it. I'll just do it more. I don't care. I'm an irritant, and I'm happy that I'm under your skin. It's okay. But yeah, there were some games where this is the last time, I'm going to have to play against these guys, or now I realise that they're going to keep playing and I'm not. And the only time I do get to see my friends is when we play against each other. So that's kind of gone out the window. But then it was more for the fact that I couldn't say that, oh yeah, I play basketball. Now I used to play basketball.
Yeah. And
that's really difficult. But there is more to it than just basketball. But obviously, I've played it longer than I haven't played it, and I feel like I still could play it. But the reason I retired was to help my family out and help look after my dad and look after my little nephew and spend some time with them, and help my mum out, give her some respite as well. And I don't regret it at all, really. I mean, spend time with dad is great. Spend time with nephew's absolutely hilarious. He's a little chatterbox now, and he's massive. And yeah, it's really nice to be around family again, because you spend all those years sacrificing that time to travel up and down the country, live in different cities, live abroad, and you miss out on those little things. And you say little things, but they're kind of like the little big things. Like you can make a tiny little gesture to a family member, it would mean so much, and now we're closer than ever, and it's absolutely amazing. And I thought we were close when I was playing basketball, because they supported me and they travelled to games and all sorts. And yeah, they were really proud of me, which is really nice. But now it's like a whole different context. They're proud of me just for showing up, and just being there and spending time. And you can't really put a price on that.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that your family are insanely proud of the career that you did have, and they did give you the massive amounts of support when you were playing, and the amount of appreciation that you that they have for you, retiring to help your mom out and to spend time with your dad and your nephew is. I mean, it's the little, like you say, it's the little things. Like at the end of your time in Nottingham, going to that the Reading game, and you get in the just a small ceremony. It means a lot to, as we were saying before, like the appreciation. It may not even be like when we're talking about the Hall of Fame prospect. Just the appreciation. That's all we need, like of peers and fans. That's all players kind of need, and that's the big thing for the players at this point, is to get that recognition, and for people to be proud. And I think that you've had a big career, and I think you've had a career that definitely is to be proud of, for sure.
Well, thanks, I appreciate that. But I mean, there's sometimes I'm looking back and like, how have I managed to do that? How have I managed to travel the world and play basketball for 20 years? You know, I'm all right. I'm good enough where I could earn a little bit of money from it, but there's players out there that are a lot better than I am. That have put way more work in, that just didn't get the recognition or just didn't get the break. You know, it helps being 6'9", but there are players out there that get overlooked because they'll bring an American, or they'll bring in somebody with a passport, or they'll bring in somebody from Europe. And I feel really bad for those people because they work just as hard, if not harder, than everybody else, and they still don't get that break. I was really lucky, really, really lucky to have had the experiences that I've had, and some of it is literally right time, right place, and knowing people. And sometimes if you don't have that timing or those connections, then you're kind of already on the back foot, which you already are on the back foot being an English person anyway.
Definitely. And I mean, the career that you've had is, definitely want to be remembered for certain fans. I mean, who else has been a 7-footer that can shoot a three very consistently? I mean, very consistently.
Yeah, I think it was all right. Just popped a few shots in, But it's easy when you've got players passing the ball all the time.
Yeah.
They get in the lane. That's the hard part. Then they have to find me. That's the easy part, because I'm in the same place the entire time. It's not exactly like rocket science. But I've been really lucky to have some really good teammates that have, really known the game and known my game, and vice versa, and it just makes the game easier. Shoot when you're open, pass when you're not. It's easy.
Definitely. What would you say is the highlight of, or it could be quite a few, the highlights of your career? Nail it down to a top 3.
So the first one I've got is that season in Reading where we didn't lose a game. That was great. We were just rolling. We were in great shape. Coach Titmus, Coach Matt Johnson, Ben Fisher had us prepped every practice without fail to the minute. The juniors we had, Adam Thosby, I think Danny Carter was a senior by then, Dan McKay, Simon Carney was a senior as well. And we had a couple of imports, and the rest were just English guys, and we were just rolling. We just worked really hard and won basketball games, and it was amazing. And we just felt like we didn't feel like we were going to lose. And it's a good feeling to have, because just the fact that you put the work in. We had 3 offensive sets. The rest was just motion, just read and react. And our defense was really good, really tough. And yeah, we had clear objectives from the beginning of the season. So it was the most prepped I've ever been in my entire career. And it obviously paid dividends because we didn't lose. The closest we came was to Coventry, and we won by 1 at our place because we were just messing about because we were bored. And Tibbs was so mad, so mad.
Suicide for the squad then.
Yeah. But it was really, that was definitely a highlight. Second one I think is, my retirement year for Hoods. We didn't win anything, but that wasn't really the point. The point was to get us to Division 1. And well, not single-handedly, but the team was to get us to Division 1 and maintain our place there. And if we can push for something, we'll compete. So yeah, I love the fact that Nottingham Basketball now has a Division 1 team, because the basketball culture here is really good. There's runs every day. There's players wherever you go, and it's really weird because the basketball society kind of aspect of it is really small nationwide anyway. But in Nottingham, it's even smaller. But there's like 2 degrees of separation. Like somebody will know somebody from somewhere who used to play at such a place or whatever. And I that's definitely a highlight for me, is the fact that I managed to play for my hometown in front of my friends and family for a good organisation with people that I have known for years, that I used to coach, that I now admire as peers. And yeah, they can't really put a price on it. That's one thing that I'll always remember, is it was just, yeah, it just meant a lot. You can't really put it into words, but you felt kind of lucky that you were there and grateful. Third one was playing for England. My first tour was in Japan, and I think I played a total of like 3 minutes. But I think I was the only Division 2 player there. Everybody else was playing like BBL abroad, just come back from college. So I think I just got picked just because I could shoot and I was a decent athlete. But my basketball experience was very minimal at that time. I think I'd been playing for about 4 years. But to make the senior men's team, that was, it's pretty cool. Especially in Sendai, Yamagata, and Tokyo. That was incredible. But the guys on that team were just really good. Justin Phoenix, Junior Williams, Philip Perry, Legia Perkins, Keith Jarrett, Mike Martin, Delmy Harriman. Those are some good players. And at that time, I was just happy to be there. It wasn't until I got a few turns around with the England team that I actually realised that I'm here to make an impact, not here to make up numbers. But yeah, that first call up didn't feel real. It felt like a teammate playing a really cruel joke, But yeah, I remember telling my dad, and he was really proud of me. He's like, "What does this mean? How much do you get paid?" I'm like, "No, Dad, it's not like that at all." But he was really, gave me a big hug, and he's not that kind of guy really, but he's really proud of me. And then got to play in front of my dad, representing England at the NIA a few times, which was awesome. Who has the chance to do that? Play for their country as a senior in front of their parents. Not very many people. Yeah, that was really cool.
Awesome. Going on to, obviously you did retire a couple of years ago, and not necessarily coaching, but would you get into sort of anything behind the scenes, maybe to do with the community inside of Nottingham?
I'm always up for one-to-one coaching, mentoring, anything like that whatsoever. I've had a few players reach out and ask for help, either just getting in touch with people or help working on their jumper or something like that, which is I've got no problems helping anybody out whatsoever. I don't have any affiliation to any club whatsoever. I just want to help whoever I can, because when I was younger, there was a lot of players that helped me out, and that's what you should do. You should always give back, I think. But at the same time, I also had a lot of people that didn't help me out and made my life really difficult, and didn't nurture me, didn't mentor me, saw me as a threat, and tried to bully me out because I was going to take their spot, really. And that's the way that the game is, and I get it. But at that time, I didn't get it. But now I think the whole point is, when you get to a certain age, you have to be who you needed when you were younger. And again, it's not a choice. You just have to become it. And yeah, I would love to do some sort of development stuff, or just show up to practice and just have a little word with a couple of under-18s that have the aspiration to play professionally or play overseas or play in college or something.
Do you have any sort of projects or any social media that you would like to plug to those watching at the moment?
Nope. I don't do any of that. I literally just take a couple of pictures every now and then of Nottingham, and I'll post that on my socials. That's about it. I don't have any coaching stuff like that. Just my Instagram and my Facebook. That's it.
Well, I'll have the links to those in the description down below for anyone that would like to check out the Instagram and what you're up to on a daily basis.
No, I appreciate that. But yeah, any players that need any advice or just want to pick my brains, I'm always open. So it's always good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on this interview.
Thanks for having me. It's been good.
The one and only British basketball legend, David Watts.
Everyone's lucky there's only one of me, because one's plenty. No one needs any more annoyance.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again.